What is going on, Comic Fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and welcome to the Bearded Comic Bro Book Club. As always, I'm joined by Scott and Matt and my lovely group here of fellow comic nerds. Each month, we pick out a book as a group, or someone from the group picks out a book. And this month, the book that people voted for was Heroes in Crisis from Tom King and Clay Mann. This is a DC book. I think it came out in 2019,
Sounds right.
2018. It
I
was
have
like
it
it
up
was
here.
Sure.
yeah. So somewhere in there it was
20
before COVID. So BC
September 2018 is what
18.
I was
Okay.
saying.
It was,
Nice.
and I'll just start then. Like it when it came out, it was right early into my getting back into comic book days. I was picking up Batman. When I came back on to reading comics, my shop owner was like, "What do you like?" I was like, "Batman." And he's like, "Well, you can pick anything off the shelves then." And
Easy.
so I picked up Batman main title just because that was what it was, and it was Tom King, and I think it was like issue 54, so it was just after the wedding. So I had none of that stigma and stuff with it, and then so I kind of started to fall in love with Tom King's writing early on, and so like when Heroes in Crisis was announced, I was like, I gotta pick that up, and so I was reading it monthly, and it was frustrating because I still wasn't understanding the whole concept of a pull box at that time. And I'm like, I'm getting like, I get some A covers, but then I get like the B covers, which are like case files. And I'm like, I want my covers to match. And so it was just early days of me trying to figure it out. So, but I did read this monthly. And so I haven't really revisited it since I was reading it. I think I read it in trade once after that. So when the group suggested this, I was like, "Ooh, let's pick this back up," because I was curious to see what other thoughts are. So Matt, what was your did you first when did you first get exposed to this?
This is the first for me.
This is
I
it.
hadn't I hadn't heard of it before, so I hadn't read it, and it was an easy like because I know all the characters, I know all the backstories of the characters, and then just watching it all get mashed together. And you said you read it monthly. I would have struggled greatly
Yep.
waiting for each
Yeah.
issue to come out the way it was laid out.
Yep. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, so I definitely was aware of it when it came out, but I did not get it. I've been over the last 7 years or so, like less inclined to get an event unless I really hear good things about it or I'm really interested in
Mhm.
it. And like
Yep, same.
being a Marvel zombie, like obviously any DC event there's an extra step it has to take. I was interested because it was Tom King and I was enjoying the Batman run because I was reading
Mhm.
Batman too at that time.
Mhm.
But I sort of heard, and maybe we'll get into this more, but I sort of heard like less than good things about it, which I tried to kind of keep in perspective as I was doing my first read through now of
Yeah.
it. But I think I think I understand where those criticisms come from and probably share some of them.
Yeah.
This is definitely my first time reading it, but I've been aware of it for a long time and just kind of people's opinion of it more than anything else.
Yeah. As always, like we're gonna talk about it at book club. We're gonna talk about the book, and so there are going to be spoilers in this book. Like this isn't a spoiler-free review. This book came out like 8 years ago. You if you're scrolling on the
Sorry.
internet, this is your chance to say, okay, I'll read this book then and come back and listen if you really have not read that or listening. But I mean, there are. That's why like when this was suggested, I knew it was going to be an interesting conversation because I knew where landed on it, but I didn't know where other people felt about the book. And there's a lot of hangups with choices he made with one of the main characters and kind of the ending and would this character do this type of thing, and that's something that Tom King I think tends to do a lot is take characters that we know and love, or that we don't really know and love, but will completely flip them and create something new and flip it on its head. And I think it works for him more often than not. But I know if it doesn't work for somebody, they really don't like it. But the general concept and idea of this book is that they've created this place called Sanctuary, right? Where they have a kind of a home in the middle of like a Smallville type town where it's they have a sanctuary where the basically the heroes go and have like true confessional like a real world almost
Yeah,
like
it's real world.
uh
Yep.
and so like
Below
the nine
deck.
panel grids really play into it, right? Of you get to
Mhm.
see the superheroes talking about their emotional baggage and the toll and what it takes on them as a superhero and what they're going through. And so we'll hop right into I think my biggest critique that with that was I wish it would have leaned more into the mental health aspect of the heroes a little bit more than it did, because I think like it
Yep.
was a great concept at the time. And I've heard from friends and stuff that editorial kind of had some rules of taking the storyline away that they didn't always want it to go. But what did you all think about the initial kind of concept of the book in and of itself?
That's what hooked me in. To know that they were struggling with PTSD with everything that they've dealt
Mhm.
with over the years, and now it wasn't just one of them, it wasn't just two of them. It's like it's the whole universe. It's the whole DC universe that is involved in struggling with it. So that was a quick draw for me to pull me in to see how each person was going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked all the conceptual elements. I even what happens to Wally West, which I know some people like maybe just actually Wally doing what he does. People had a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with that. For me, the ideas were great. I just did not ever feel like I could really connect with them because of the way they were presented, or at least it felt like the presentation was lacking for me.
Mm.
Which we can get into that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, but yeah, all the content of it, it's very interesting, especially Tom King, being a veteran, being someone that has seen horrible things. I think it is interesting to have a writer like grapple with that in their work. And I think he's grappled with it well in other places. Here, I'm not so sure it like connected. So
Yeah,
that's
I almost feel like there was almost a little too overcrowding of the characters in
yeah.
the confessional aspect,
Hmm.
Yeah.
that made it
Yeah.
hard. Like that's where I think like you're saying like to connect with the characters and stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
like if you look at this cover, man, they all are in the confessional booth at some
Yeah.
time, and this isn't a
Yep.
long. It's a 9 issue event,
Yeah.
so like it's not. It's not astronomically long. And then if you're adding in this whole murder mystery whodunit thing that you got to
Yeah.
spend time with, you don't get a lot. And so these confessional things have to be really quick pace. And
Yeah.
I think that pulls away from being able to connect. And I think that's where I was saying that earlier of like, I wanted to deal more with that. I wanted to spend more time maybe with less characters and get to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I felt like
and
at the end they sort of started sticking in a one-liner from Jason Todd and
yeah.
one-liner here, and it was a ton of nine-panel stuff too. That
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
that's an interesting quick blow through there with all those nine panels.
Yeah, to me that like that conceit was like if I'd seen it maybe like once per issue or once every 3 issues or something,
Right.
I might have gone with it better. But to me, it's like it leaned way too hard on like what I'm gonna call like writery things.
Okay.
Like I'm a big like you have a writer and an artist making a comic. There should be like a balance. And to me, this felt like I think there are some unfair criticisms of Tom King out there, but I think one of the sometimes fair criticisms is he really leans into the influence that Alan Moore has on him.
Mm,
But and I think I respect that I think he was trying something. I think he was like swinging for something. I did think it was like well intentioned with those confessional booth sequences, but just like there was no. It's really like a show don't tell thing was lacking for me,
mm.
and that's what I really wanted to see more because there's so many things in like his other work where even if there's like a caption box adding some prose to it, the artist has a lot to do within the images to move the narrative forward. And I just felt like this, it was like cutting between, frankly, kind of confusing action sequences where Harley's trying to like kill Booster Gold, and then these confessional scenes that just go are felt interminable, and then also just when we find out it's Wally, I just kind of felt like that came out of nowhere too. So I just feel like there's structurally something that I wasn't getting out of it.
Yeah.
That I want, and I really want, and I want, and like again, like the idea is cool, especially yeah, like you said, it's a murder mystery, which like that's catnip for me, murder mystery with superheroes. But I just never really felt like engaged with the mystery part. I felt more confused most of the time, frankly, than
Yeah.
or
Yeah, it
a little bit bored.
the twist was that there was no lead up to Wally West
Yeah,
for me.
yeah,
And had he even been a seed planted, and was growing a little bit through the story, then I would have been like,
yeah.
oh, I should have seen that. Yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah. And that's why
It
like
it
when
didn't
you
happen.
have yeah, when you have, 18 panels of like Mr. Miracle, some other random like bunch of DC characters I don't even know because like Vixen, whatever, like just saying one-liners, Jason Todd, like all the
Yeah.
Robins saying one-liners. And
Although
it's like Shouldn't these pages be
Yes.
planting these seeds?
Yeah. Although I, as someone who does not like Damien very much, Damien's
Yeah.
panel is great where he's like,
Oh
"I'm
yeah.
fine. Why? What the others? What they say?"
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
That see, yeah, and that was funny. Like I'll
Yeah, I
grant
mean,
that. Like there's
yep.
moments that are funny, but it's just not cohesive. Yeah, totally.
And I think that's where it is. Like, because there are points to have levity in a book that's serious, and you need it sometimes, especially I think
Mhm,
when you're dealing with heavier topics. But it just seems like there was a lot, and that's where then it gets kind of confusing to be pulled in.
mhm.
I am curious about the Wally West thing because I think the big hang up with a lot of people is he wouldn't do that. Like he's kind of like from what I understood, like he was kind of the face of like rebirth of like redemption and kind of through this all. And so when they brought him back kind of thing, and it's like, and people were like, no. And that was a hard like issue with a lot of people with this book with having Wally murder.
Yeah, I think that it comes down to just execution, though. I think like I've heard that as well, and it, obviously it's fair to like have that feeling, especially if you're deeply because like Wally West was my Flash growing up. I read that Mark
Mhm.
Waid run, and I
Yep.
loved I loved it. And I was in cross country, and like when I would get be on the starting line, I would say to myself, "I'm Wally West, the fastest man alive," and like to myself, I didn't want the other people to know I was a huge nerd. Uh, so, but like. But like, yeah, like it's like it could work if you just gave me some evidence that that was happening to him, 7 issues ago or something like that.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Scott. That he is my Flash, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got an ability to sort of disconnect from whatever canon is or whatever my
Hmm.
my perceived expectation is of a character because I like to hear somebody else's thoughts of it or something that I didn't think of it that way. So I
Hmm.
didn't have a problem with that. My only problem I had with the entire group of books was just the lead up to it.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised. I was almost confused.
Yeah.
And even when I went back to reread, the last couple of issues in there, it
Mhm.
it still didn't jump out at me like I wish that it would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, and again, I am not the biggest Flash person here. So like you're watching this and going, you have your facts wrong. I probably do. So like, but Scott and Matt can at least help
Right,
correct
right
me
to
on this.
complaints at
Um,
greg.com.
so well, first off, kudos for watching this then, because most people don't watch it long enough to send complaints. So but like my understanding is when they brought Wally back, they kind of took away his family when they
Oh
brought
yeah. Hmm.
and so and then this one it's kind of like the whole catalyst is he remembers his family but nobody else does. And when I saw online was Tom was talking about his like what as someone who has a wife and kids and things like what that would do for me if like I'm in a whole nother universe where I don't have my family. And so I think it was hinging on a lot more knowledge,
Hmm.
maybe to the lead up that they were expecting readers to have that maybe a casual more wouldn't have. And I think sometimes that happens more often in these event books, right? Like they you try to lean into like we got to get through so much stuff so quick that we don't have time to kind of walk you through. And I think, but that was the one time where it was like we probably needed a little bit more spoon feeding here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
it's interesting too that so it's 2018 and two out of the three, what ends up being the most important, results of this and Harley Quinn and Booster Gold and the Flash. Was there any Booster Gold action out there that anybody was reading in 2018? Or like Flash wasn't that
uh,
big in 2018. I mean, the
Which
CW
is
show was,
probably
was still
why.
rolling, but
So,
yeah.
from my understanding, editorial basically said to Tom, "You have three characters, and these are the three characters that you can use for your murder mystery."
oh,
Like,
okay.
and
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes
and Tom,
sense.
because Tom has come out and said like he kind of regrets how he handled things with Wally West a little bit himself. And like he had said, like, yeah, editorial said these are your three that you have for the murder mystery. And he's like, great. And he's like, maybe I should have checked it a little bit of on the grade.
Mm.
So my guess is Harley was still being a side. Harley would have had a book. I think she would have had the book out because wasn't that the
Yeah,
Oh
I,
yeah.
I
Call
figured
Me
she
Audie and
she
Con?
was the exception. I just
And
didn't
then
understand the whole
yeah, because
Booster
I don't
Gold
think
and
Booster
the
had anything
Flash.
after New 52 until
Right.
Jurgens booted it with Blue and Gold stuff, but that was later.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that
don't
sounds
think
right.
so. And I don't I'm the worst person again to ask about a Flash book. So but I
Talking
think
about
that's
Harley
probably
too.
why editorial was like, utilize these characters. And again, this is stuff that
Right.
I'm gathering information from interviews and online, and you listen to believe what you hear online 50% of the time, if that. So take what I'm saying
Yeah.
here
My
about
favorite
that with a grain of
takeaway of the
salt.
entire book of the entire series is I don't know why I'm a sucker for Batgirl and Harley Quinn to be friends and
Mm,
to like work
Yeah.
together and be on the same side. I have no idea, but that really, really keeps my attention all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I like those parts too. And again, like if you had done something where I was seeing, like even if you think people have heard Wally's story, like tell it again in a way that
mm.
I
Yeah.
hate I hate to do this because I was thinking about this the whole time because like Greg knows this. I just read Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, and you could argue that like you know in that book and in the movie we like see him like loading a gun and then we then trial, then later we just find out from some guy who did the real murder, right? That's spoilers for two things now. But three things technically. But like I just felt like, let's see Wally doing something earlier on that tells us that. And maybe that's what the confession booth was for, but like he wasn't prominently featured in those
Mm-mm.
until later. And then you do get, and it did like, I mean, I kind of started catching on in I think it was issue 7 where he's at the end and he's like, they took my family or whatever he says at the end there, and he gets all sad and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then I think there's maybe one thing in that same issue earlier where when the Flash is running around the Earth, he says something about a speedster could do this. And I
Mm.
kind of put that together, but I'm like, we're, almost done with the series at that point.
Right.
So but yeah, I liked the Harley Batgirl stuff. I always like seeing Booster Gold. I think that like probably I get the impression that like writers like to use Booster Gold because he's like a goofus, but you can do big sci-fi things with him.
Hmm.
And so I always like seeing him in an event like this. And I mean, it could have been interesting if I wouldn't want to ever like rewrite someone's script or like what if he was the murderer and you got to see like something darker? Because like I think he was in the Batman run at the time, and there was kind of this, didn't he like
Mm. Yeah, they
do
that was when
something and he
they
screwed up Bruce's life by preventing something or there.
yeah, I'm thinking because then there was also you had the Flash, they had the button piece in that
Yeah, and the
Batman run
button
too.
was that in it too. Yeah, so it's kind of a
Um,
weird time in DC anyway. So probably there's a lot of balls up in the air for people.
yeah. One thing though that I will say, and I've been a fan probably ever since this book because this was one of the first times I probably realized it. Man, I'm a sucker for Clayman's art.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Clayman's
oh,
incredible.
Yeah.
That's
stunning.
another thing though. I'm like I think he did a lot of the confessional sequences, and
Yeah.
that kind of drove me insane because I'm like, I mean, he does an amazing job of acting in those sequences, but I'm just like, do something else with this guy. Like, they have Mitch Gerrits and Lee Weeks and all these other people who are great. Travis Moore, like doing great work. But I'm like, you have Clay Mann and you're just making him draw people talking to a camera.
Profile.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a little, though he did have to draw like everybody in the DC universe. So I guess
That's
he's
pretty impressive.
doing a George Perez there. So
But the when he gets to do the fight scenes though, between
yeah,
Booster and Harley,
he does
like
get to do
Yep.
some of that stuff. So
those
that's good.
those thrive. And I will say one of the other things I love about those art were the title card splash pages.
Hmm.
They're all
They're cool.
unique and all different. The one in the flower in the field was and still is the
Yeah,
best.
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like definitely a high level of craft, except maybe in the structuring of things. But yeah, it looked amazing, the whole book.
Yeah. I mean, come on, that is
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, and I wanted to feel something when I saw it
right.
more than I did. But I was like, wait, Wally's the guy? Oh, that sucks. That's too bad. Bummer.
So we've kind of beat around the bush a little bit, but like, where is it actually rank of like your enjoyment level? I don't necessarily have to give a ranking on it per se, but like readability, rereadability. How about that? So
I think the best thing I can say for it is if I find the individual issues out there in a box, I will probably get them.
okay,
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I would go back and reread it again. I'd like to reread it in in my hand with physical media instead of
Mhm.
online, through Hoopla app or whatever. I'd like to
yeah,
just be able to see the art in my hands. But yeah,
mm,
I'll definitely be looking for it.
no,
Yeah, yeah, to me, it's like the bottom of Tom King scripted stuff for me
Mm.
personally. It's just hard for me to get past that. It's just like because I know what he's capable of, it just feels like, and maybe maybe some of that. I'm always a little skeptical of like editorial interference. Like I feel like that maybe is more in this what you're describing as like the content, but like maybe that did
Mm.
have something to do with the structure of it and how he had to build it out. So I understand that, but ultimately, it's much lower ranking for me. Again, though, I loved the ideas. I do think that there's ideas in here that are really interesting, and there were moments that were like actually kind of emotionally like powerful or interesting. So it's kind of a bummer in that way because I hate to be like a negative about it, but
Right.
I've just seen so much better work from all these people. But I respect the swing, though. I do respect the swing because I do think it was a swing because it is a very strange kind of story to try and tell, and it's very probably challenging to pull something like that off.
And
So
I will say, like, no matter where you're at with Tom King's writing, what I appreciate is that he will take these swings.
yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
I think so oftentimes we get writers that are like, I'm gonna do what I know works, and is like where Tom does sometimes just swing like, let's
hmm
just see what happens. And you
hmm
get some masterpieces like Mr. Miracle or
hmm
Superwoman, and then
hmm
you get somewhere you're like, did not land as much as I had hoped for.
Yeah.
Well,
So
what
Yeah.
about you, Greg?
Respect the effort.
When you went to reread it, was it what you hoped? Were you excited about going back and rereading it
I
just,
was. I was excited to go
to
back to read.
remember?
I think if I had to say I'm probably like, and that's the vibe I kind of had going into this, I was gonna be split in between you and Scott. On I don't I gave a lot more grace because like the whole that it was Wally wasn't a big deal for me. I think I land on the same page as you both of I wanted a little bit more like build up for it. It felt a little bit like Ocean's 12, where they're just like, "Oh, how you didn't see that coming? You should have known." Like it's
Yeah,
like
but there's no Julia Roberts pretending to be herself.
right.
That's the only thing that this is missing.
Yeah, so I'm definitely up there. It's one that I will. I still have my single issues. I actually have two copies of this because I have the hardcover too because I saw
Oh, wow.
the hardcover and I don't typically do that, and I think it was one of those. I'm like, oh, I got it at Always for like $4. So I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And
Oh,
so,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like it was kind of like since you were getting back into it or getting into it, like it's a little bit formative maybe too, which I think is
yeah.
important. It's like I definitely have stuff like that where I'm like, I don't know if I love this, but this was one of the first things. Like I still have like I've rebought a copy of my first Spider-Man comic before because like the original is like all torn up and it's not a very good issue. It's like the second part of like whatever, but yeah, you kind of you just kind of like those. I mean, and you liked it a little more than me too. So obviously like there's that
Yeah.
reason. I actually could not find a physical copy. I didn't look that many places, but I like
Yeah.
went to Powell's, I went to my shop. They had the Joshua Williamson like side one
Okay.
that he did. I don't even you guys
Yep.
even remember that 'cause I think there were other
I
pieces
think
with
they
it.
had a
That's the other thing,
couple.
right?
I think they had a couple other like any event of
Yeah, there were offshoots.
tie-ins.
And so I kept finding the Joshua Williams run, and I almost just grabbed it one day, and then I looked and I was like, wait a minute, that says Joshua Williams. That's not, if I read this, I'll really be not doing the right thing for the
Quite a
book club.
review.
Yeah. Like, what'd you
Yeah.
guys read? What are you talking about,
I'm
Wally
like,
West?
what?
I don't,
No. Uh
this is all about Green Arrow. I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, and it seems like even the Batman ones, so Batman, the Booster Gold storyline was
Hmm
45, 47, the gift. So
Yeah.
that was leading up to the wedding.
Yeah. I
And
read
so it seemed
those.
it seemed like there was a handful that were tying into that, and then you had the tie-ins, and then you
Is
had,
it, is
I
this what
mean,
ended the world? Is this what caused COVID? Was it all this
probably.
stuff? And then it just like, it's too much stuff.
Well, I mean,
We're all sad now.
I'm looking at a comic book Herald saying that Heroes in Crisis issue by issue reading order. Heroes in Crisis 1, Green Arrow 45,
Oh God.
Heroes
Yeah,
in
those
Crisis
are
2, 3, 4, Flash Annual 2, Batman 64, Flash 64, Batman 65, Flash 65, Heroes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a lot of work for an event book.
yeah.
And
I'm
so
Yeah.
trying to think
Yeah.
if
No,
I
maybe
if you would
then
have led with that, I would have probably been, I don't know if I'm gonna do this or not.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
But I wonder if
I don't know if I've ever done those reading orders ever in my whole life as a comic book reader. I don't think I've
I
ever
haven't.
just maybe
and I think
one
I
Marvel event.
wonder if that plays into maybe if it was taking place in Flash and Batman, we
Hmm.
got a little bit of those breadcrumbs we wanted.
Possibly, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will say that's my
That's true.
biggest issue with the event books
Yes.
is there should not be the main titles of the event book should stand in their place without
Yeah.
like
100%.
I think like and then you can have those other storylines. Like it's way too bogged down
Yeah.
otherwise to do it. I think like a great example um from I'm not saying it was a great event, but like when I first got into I think Marvel's event was War of the Realms.
Oh yeah.
And I think what they did was like they had like a 3 issue arc with like how the Punisher and I forget who he was with got through a tunnel to get to where they were at in the war. And so like it doesn't really matter of like how, but they told that story. And so like it didn't impact it, but it still felt connected into the universe.
Mhm.
And so I think if you have to read the other books to like
Yeah.
to make it better, it's like I struggle with
Yep.
that a lot more. And I know that's the way the comic industry works and things, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was now I'm curious who was writing Flash at the time because you're right. Maybe it was there. Maybe there was stuff
Joshua
with Wally
Williamson, it
there.
says
Josh, yeah.
Joshua Williamson wrote all four. So that was probably the
Okay.
tie-in was that one.
So yeah. And I wonder, like, yeah, was there, Wally stuff in there that would have given me what I feel like I'm lacking in this story? Which
Right?
still is like not it's a criticism. I mean, it's more a criticism of events, like you're saying. Like that's just the way events are
Right.
sometimes, but you don't have to execute them like that.
Yeah.
They can, like you were saying, they can give it sort of additional like flavor. But yeah, it should everything you need should be in this main story,
Yep. And I
ideally.
wonder, I'd have
Agreed.
to look back at the single issues if it was like if they had the editorial notes of like read issue 64 to know what happened, like how they do
Yeah,
that sometimes.
True.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, that is
totally.
all those Flash tie-ins are collected in the Heroes in Crisis companion book. And I
Mhm.
know I didn't read the Flash, and I know I didn't
Yeah.
read the companion book. So I'm curious. Gosh, I'm a sucker. I'm probably gonna go pick up the
Now you
companion
gotta
book,
go. Now you
read
are
it, and
now.
just see what it adds to the story now.
This is how they
Um,
get you.
it's I'm a, this is why I can't do event books, right? Because I'm like,
You're a mark. You're a mark.
I am.
Mark,
I'm a
just
mark.
marking out over
It
here
only it
for
only took 8 years to get him,
yeah.
but finally got him.
Yeah.
Now when the sales doesn't matter, we're gonna at least get them on a secondhand resale store.
Yeah, you'll get like a $2 copy of it. Like, oh, now it makes sense now. Yeah, okay,
Oh yeah,
cool.
this is great.
Oh,
So,
actually, this is pretty good.
which I'd be curious of, maybe it's because there's so much backlash then of if it does really help if they ever would do like because I mean who doesn't love money? DC loves money.
Yeah.
Do an ultimate collection where it like fits it into whatever the supposed reading order is and
Mhm.
see if it's like if it's release the King Williams cut.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like that would be like an omnibus edition of it or
Yeah,
something, right? Like
Yep.
release it in that order.
I'd be
Exactly.
curious.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it would get a reappraisal if you could just easily read it all at once. I don't like reading omnibus, but because it's like this much book and I gotta like read it at night like this and break my wrists off and but
I
Yeah, I
mean,
was just thinking about John over there at John's Comics
yeah.
with friends and his omnibus and all of the crazy like we're gonna do X-Men stuff, but oh wait a minute, no, we're gonna do the whole long shot issues,
Hmm.
then we're gonna
it's
do the Nightcrawler issues, then we're gonna do some New Mutants, and then we'll get back
Hmm.
to X-Men after this.
I mean, I'll say like
Exactly.
they look great on the shelf. Like I got my
Oh
Injustice
yeah.
ones right
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
But I'm
Yeah.
still a sucker for like I don't crack them open too often. I'll probably
Yeah.
read the omnibuses digitally so I don't break my
Exactly.
wrist.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would 100% buy that as an omnibus and then
Yeah.
just read it digitally on the DC app.
Yeah. The compendiums are okay because they're usually like they're soft cover and
Yep.
they're like what 200 pages maybe, so you can kind of manage that usually.
Mhm.
Those new GI
Yeah.
Joe compendiums are real easy to
Yeah.
hold. I mean, they're very,
Yeah.
very thick, but man, they're
Oh
really easy
yeah.
to read, easy to hold now.
I
Yeah.
still got to get the third one of those, but that's another podcast.
Anything about the book structure stuff that we haven't got to hit on that you really wanted to touch on that we just haven't talked about yet?
Nine panel stuff is the main thing that jumps out with me,
Mhm.
and only just because I know he does that a decent amount in some of his writing, but it
Mhm.
just kept coming and coming and coming, and it
Hmm.
Mhm.
kept catching me off guard every time, and I
Yeah.
focused too much on why is this 9 panels rather than what is actually being said, and then have to
Yeah.
turn around and go back and reread that page because I was talking to myself the whole time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think with that, like that's what kind of frustrated me about those confessional sequences is that most of the 9 panel stuff was in those. There's other 9 panel stuff like you're saying, and it was very Watchmen, which like that's just what I'm gonna say about it if it if I mention 9 panel grids. But that's what frustrated me about the confessionals is the 9 panel grid is used in this way to make it feel really static. Whereas sometimes a 9 panel grid can give you this kind of this rhythm that's very like deliberate, and it's because each panel is the same size, so it gives you this like thump, 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 and it's like,
I kept
but
wondering every time I would read it of, what's the timestamp that this was taken? Like, were
yeah,
these all done on the same day? Were these done a week apart?
yeah,
Were these done 6 months apart? Like
yeah,
how new is my information that I'm getting in these panels? And I just couldn't get that out of my head for some reason.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you just kind of feel like lost in it or something. Like, yeah, it didn't give me anything. So
Yep.
Yeah.
sorry,
I,
Tom.
that's
Love you,
Tom for
Tom.
but I
Don't let
do
Mars see this. She won't like it.
I I still if he's a bucket list creator for me to get on my podcast at some point
Yeah.
because
Oh, for
he
sure.
got me back into comics with his Batman run, and
Mhm.
I to this day I and that's
Tom,
the
I
thing
love you.
is
If
I
you're
think
watching
people
this, go on Greg's show. Go on his show. Don't listen to me.
no
Do it.
well, I don't think but I don't think even like
Yeah.
we're not nothing we're saying is like being
No.
disrespectful to a
No.
creator because I think we all are very
Yeah.
I've interacted with y'all enough to know like we're very like respectful of the art, like knowing that it might not be for us, it might work for someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. Like we're not here to rage bait to like, oh, we don't like
No.
Tom King. Like we're
Definitely
just
not.
like this kind of worked for me, it kind of didn't work for you, and it worked for Matt. Like so like we're a
Yeah.
Yeah.
great trifecta of
Totally. Yeah.
what
It's perfect.
and I think that's where I want though, like if, like to have these discussions is just kind of like to maybe see like, oh, I didn't see this or I saw this aspect of it. I mean, to see like again, like just like Lois Lane like lounging in bed with Superman and
Yeah.
she's rocking a Superman shirt, like which
Yeah.
has to be merch because it's a t-shirt, not a long sleeve. Like
Yeah.
so it's not
Right. Yeah.
his. So like she owns Superman merch.
Yeah. Who's selling this merch too? Like, is the Warner Brothers Corporation a going concern
It's
in the DC
it's New York. It
universe?
was probably bought from the corner.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's
She
like
was on she was on a smoke break and she
it's
just grabbed
Well,
it.
totally bootleg.
but I mean they do that in Mr. Miracle, right? All the superheroes, like he's always wearing a different superhero shirt in it. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
thought it
That's
was
right.
so
Yeah.
funny
I do like that. Yeah.
that Lois was wearing a Superman shirt. I think it
That
would have
is
been
hilarious.
funnier if Lois was wearing like a Batman
Yeah.
t-shirt or something else, just like
That's true.
Yeah.
just to stick it to him. But I do like the idea. I love the
Mhm.
concept of
Mhm.
where the book was, of what it was trying to
Yeah.
be, of
Yep.
talking about struggling, looking at the mental health aspect of
Mhm.
PST and uh PS ugh. Yeah,
PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah.
PTSD. I know I was like I
Yeah.
messed it up and someone's gonna call me out on it. But like and what that process is. And I think Matt, you said early on of like, the one of the things that's nice though about all these characters is they're all going through something. And so I think very often when you're dealing with, processing things, we think we're in it by ourselves. And so like it's to know that like we have other people that are going through similar things. And if chances are if you are so like I like that. I like and I love that we're exploring those concepts a little bit more in comic book medium. Like we have this,
Mhm.
this was in 2018. Then we had stuff like the Thunderbolts in
Mhm.
2025, like dealing with
Yeah.
those issues and stuff like that. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
like that creators are trying
this
and taking
this
shots.
this was a concept that I had never read before. I'd never had
Mhm.
the idea of this even happening. So
Mhm.
that's why it did keep me through all the way because it
Mhm.
was just a whole new thought pattern that I had never had about these characters before. So
Mhm.
that's why it won me over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we're wrapping up, any last parting thoughts about Heroes in Crisis?
Right. More Batman. I agree with more Batgirl Harley team ups.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anything had come out of the book, I know that some people are ambivalent about like Harley as a hero, which I kind of agree, but like as an anti-hero that like Batgirl has to kind of deal with on some adventure, like
Hmm.
that could be really fun, like give it to, I don't know, like I Kelly Thompson can write everything as far as I'm concerned, so like maybe she would have fun with that, or
True.
like, Maybe Tom King would have fun with that. I don't know, but yeah, do
Well,
that,
they
DC.
Harley and Batgirl were on the original Birds of Prey Kelly Thompson team, the first volume at least.
Hmm.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I guess, but it's like
But we want them more
Oracle,
just a
but it's
team up.
Oracle. I want just them
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
because it's or I guess she was Bagger a little bit too, and there was spoiler, but like just Harley and Barbara Batgirl.
Yeah.
If you want to throw Big Barda in there every now and then or whatever, like have some guest stars, that's cool too.
I
But
love Big Barda.
yeah, she's great.
I love Big Barda, like Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Tom King's one, and then Kelly Thompson's writing of Big Barda in Birds of
Yeah,
Prey. So freaking good.
yeah, so good.
So, well, we've tackled all the world's problems as we read more comic books. That's what we did today. So kudos to
Did
y'all.
it. We solved it.
We solved it. Like
Yep.
Good
everything's
job,
good.
everybody.
If you are watching these and you ever have recommendations of what we should do for the book club, you want to be a part of the book club, reach out to me. We can add you to the Discord and have the conversations. And if you can make it, cool. And if you can't, hop in. That's okay too. I know Scott's there, so like Scott and I are always there. So like you guys are stuck with us, and Matt's now becoming one of the tried and true. So
Yeah.
through it all too. So
For sure.
gang, with that being said, hopefully you can find some time though to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out.